like hurt you or?
No.
Oh.
Well, I just wanted to make sure it was I started over every time. You know, I want to make sure you're in the same position
What
every
it
time.
is I kind of go through it and I kind of take an average of because it never lines up like perfectly, but I take the average and then I kind of line up and I'm like, oh, it's the best, and it kind of makes me
Yeah, so
satisfied.
this is mainly to
Because I
check the
did.
levels.
No. It's to match up this to that because I'm not going to use that audio. I'm going to drop out that audio and put in this audio.
Nice.
And so yeah, this gives the effect of us being professional. Oh, anyway, so just to tell you about this. This is the PodTrack P4.
Mm-hmm.
So this piece of equipment, ready for this? You can microphone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it has two different types of microphone, condenser and non-condenser. Then this one is microphone, condenser, non-condenser, or computer. And then this one, last one, microphone, condenser, non-condenser, or phone.
Oh.
Phone. So what I mean is people can call in with this.
Oh, well, let's take some calls.
We could,
Hey, listen, if you're watching right now and you like what
we
you
can
see,
totally
call
take calls
in
later.
to 104.3.
We can totally take calls. Not right now. It's not live right now. But we can totally take calls later. We can totally call Misha and put him on.
Okay, that'd be
cool. Put him on the podcast later on. Totally.
Yeah.
And I'll put that on the. I'll put bits of it out, but I'll be like, this is on my Patreon.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
like the whole thing. You know what I mean? But I'll put joke bits of it out, like onto like TikTok and all that. Fuck yeah, dude. That's a great idea.
Well, we got the headphones and everything.
Actually, you know what, dude? That's going to be my because I was like, what am I gonna like put on the page? Because this podcast is gonna be on my thing. I'm like, what am I gonna put on the Patreon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh, now that you're saying this, I'm like, yeah, that's like what it can be. Dude, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah. We can really reach out to these people.
Dude, I just want to do a call. Yeah, I just want to do a call. Like I love this. Okay, so let's first do the Waiting for Death. Well, let's do the Waiting for Death podcast, 7 questions. Let's do that. And then let's do the call-in session of the Waiting for Death podcast. This is hilarious. All right. Now, as I'm asking these questions, take your time answering.
Sure.
I can edit around. You know what I mean? Any dead spots, we can take breaks, whatever. You know what I mean? All of that. No worries. You want to get another soda? You want to get another water? Anything like that. So, okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this is the Waiting for Death podcast. This is my buddy Andrew Harms. He's here, man. We're doing it. We're doing the Waiting for Death podcast with Joe Camerota. My guest today is Andrew Harms. We're doing the 7 questions today, everybody. We are doing the 7 questions, and I gave Andrew the 7 questions just moments ago, not very long ago. These are the 7 important questions that I'm kind of curious about before I die, and this is the Waiting for Death podcast.
Okay.
And so I'm waiting for death, and these are the 7 questions that I'm pondering as I wait for death, because I like to ponder questions. I'm I'm a comedian. You're a comedian, but also I feel like I don't know. I feel like comedians are smart folk, and I feel like comedians are sometimes deeper than we're allowed to be in the sense of our acts, because we're just trying to make make points sometimes, but you can't say it unless it's funny, right? So is that, and hopefully this can be funny, that we don't have to limit this. Of course we'll have a humor throughout, but also these are just the 7 questions that I have. That's it. You're just a good personality and you're a smart guy, one of the smartest dudes I know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Okay, so Andrew Harms. Question number 1. Do you believe in God?
Yes.
And yes, okay. And what is that? What is God?
God, I think it's the person in charge of everything. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I believe in God because I think somebody's got to be calling the shots. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because I feel like if there was no God, the universe would just be a black hole. You know, it would just be a lot of nothing. Maybe a few planets, like a sun or two. But the fact there's like a world, and there's human beings, and there's just a bunch of like podcasts and phones and water and all these rules and codes that line up. There's like
Okay.
there's a lot of systems and a lot of patterns, and I think
That's
as
reflective
much
of
as
God to you.
I may be
Those systems and patterns are reflective of God to you.
to me, because I believe in evolution in the sense that maybe I don't think it was Adam and Eve. I don't think, but I do believe that there was some creation involved at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I definitely believe I believe in God. I also think about God a lot.
You think about God a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if it's comes from growing up as a Christian, but there's something that once that gets placed in your head, it's sort of this thing like I think that there's someone who's helping me,
Yeah, I'm down with that.
That there's I don't know if you could call it, a lot of people equate it to the universe, like the universe is trying to tell me, but it might not be the whole universe. I think it's just it represents you seeing something truthfully,
Okay, yeah.
like seeing something, like taking in messages, like kind of in a sort of spiritual sense. You know what I mean?
I believe
because you can kind of see like, okay, don't do that. That's a good pathway. I'm getting it's like just reading signs of your environment
is reflective of God in your mind.
I feel it is.
Okay, I can jive with that. I can jive with that.
You can jive.
I can jive.
People have been saying you can't jive.
I don't know about that. I'm a guy who can jive.
Okay.
I'm a jive man.
All right.
Yeah.
Is jive a negative thing or a positive thing? Because
it's a good thing.
People say like that's some bull jive. That's a bunch of jive.
Really?
Yeah. You never heard that?
No.
Like you're a jive turkey. But if you're like, I guess maybe if something is jive, it's bad. But if you are jiving, then it's good, I guess.
I don't know. Yeah. I always thought it was like
if it's a verb, it's good.
Like you're a jive dude, man. I always thought it was kind of like you're like
yeah. We'll have to consult Mr. Webster
guy
about this.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah, you're right about that. Oh yeah. Moving on. Do you believe in the devil? And if yes, what is that? And if no, why?
The devil's a tougher one for me because do I believe in evil? Yes, but it's hard to say where that comes from. You know what I mean?
Got it.
Because it's interesting how there's so if the devil exists and evil exists, I think it's crazy how there's just so much of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you know what I mean? Like it's just crazy, just the evil in the world, and how it's often
there's a lot of evil.
It's often people commit evil with with just like wrong thinking and twisted morality, and they think people think they're doing good sometimes when it's actually wrong.
Yeah, I do. Yes, there is a lot of that. I think there's a lot of people who, this is what I think happens, if I am to be quite honest with you. I think people get corrupted into thinking life is a win-lose game. They don't think in terms of good and evil. They think in terms of winning and losing. And then they cheat to get ahead. And in that process of cheating, I think some forms of cheating can kind of be innocuous, you know what I mean? Or even just, so a lot of forms of cheating can be innocuous, but there are some people that they take that need to win too far, and they take the cheating into something where they're cheating at the expense of others. And once they're cheating at the expense of others, like it's not like, I think of like sports teams that like cheat and they get caught and they're like, yeah, but everyone's doing it. And it's kind of is like, if it's a thing that's accessible to everybody, then it's like kind of different. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that's kind of like,
it's sort of this thing of like, well, the rules say not to, but then it's like, fuck the rules.
Yeah. If it's accessible to everybody kind of equally, then you kind of say, yeah, it's cheating, but it's whatever. It's like jumping the turnstile here in New York City. I don't jump the turnstile because, quite frankly, I probably could just look around for cops, but I have a bad back.
Oh yeah.
And I can afford to not jump the
You don't
turnstile,
think it's
so I
just
pay.
wrong, you know?
I do think it's kind of wrong.
Because
I mean,
people like the MTA relies on money to
like I said,
function.
I don't jump myself, but if I see a person jump, it does not bother me in the slightest. It does not in the slightest.
It bothers me a little bit.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Never does.
I mean, I don't
Never.
know.
Never, man.
To me, it's like, well, it's. I know what you're saying. That, but do you think that comes from? To me, it's like the question: does that come from the devil? You know, some force. You know, because it's that's difficult to say. Like, there's a force of good in the world, but I don't know if.
I think a lot of things.
I don't know if God is like. I don't know
think,
if God is purely.
I don't think
is
God
a
is
pure
anything.
moral thing. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I think
Okay.
God might be evil too. That's why He allows so much.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. You think God is just kind of everything, and so God therefore is good and
Kinda, you
evil.
know.
Okay, so you
Because
think kind
why?
of
Because
God
it seems
and
like
the devil are one thing, one idea, one concept,
possibly,
the personification of one united force.
kind of. You know,
Okay,
maybe
maybe.
they got to be working together somehow. You know,
Okay,
otherwise, why would there be so much evil that's permitted? You
okay.
know, it seems odd to me. But I guess you could also make the argument that God never said that. If you read scripture, that God never said that there wouldn't be, you know, that there's kind of a thing of there's an acceptance of there's going to be bad things that happen all the time. There's going to be forces of evil. It's the earth. It's not heaven.
This philosopher I once read said that
Mm-hmm.
evil was like a parasite on good. So evil is less than good. So evil is like the breakdown of good. So like murder is evil. Life has to exist in order for murder to exist. So the good has to like be there in order for the evil to destroy it. Therefore, evil is less than. Therefore, God and Satan can't be equals. One had to presuppose the other. The good had to presuppose the evil.
Yeah.
So
Because evil can't exist on its own.
that's the theory.
Well,
There has to be the good for the evil to then corrupt in order to be labeled evil. The basic good being just existence itself, life itself, which is why, murder is the capital crime of all the crimes.
but murder's it's interesting because we do let other people like murder is okay. It's the worst thing you could do, but it is something that is allowed. You know, in the sense that like governments kill people, and you could say like, oh, and maybe the killing isn't justified in a sense because it's just a system. You know what I mean? It's a system of keeping everybody in place, and I think sometimes people have to die for that to happen. You know?
I don't agree with that. I think people generally, for the most part, want to be left alone. I think, for the most part, the people that want to be left alone far outnumber the bad people. And so and I'm not even saying good people. I'm just saying people who want to be left alone. You know what I mean? People who are just like, I'm not saying heroes. I'm just saying people who just want to, go to work 9 to 5 and then go home and drink some beers and hang out with their buddies and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's the majority of folk. The majority of folk aren't bad people. They're just kind of out there doing innocuous stuff all day long, doing stupid stuff just to keep the boredom away.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, I think those people, if herded together against evil better, if that was more coordinated, I don't think evil would stand a chance. If people kind of had a sense, I think we're kept from seeing a lot of things. I think a lot of propaganda happens all the time. By a lot of corrupt people, and there's a lot of propaganda going every which direction, but there's enough propaganda, there's enough misinformation out there to create a slag in any real change happening for a lot of evil, and that's why a lot of evil just happens. You know
Yes,
what I
yeah.
mean? There's like people who would want to make change. Somebody else goes, well, what about this? And blah, blah, blah. And then it's
Hmm.
just, you're just slogged down in bureaucracy. And it's
Yeah.
just because there's enough propaganda on every side.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you just get, if you're talking about wars and stuff like that, there's
Or
just
like
enough.
wars are just like having people killed and that kind of thing, you know?
I guess. I mean, I think that generally is wars. I don't think there's a lot of hitmen for hire out there. I should hope not. Maybe there
I
is.
mean,
I don't
I'll put
know.
it in my application, you know?
Okay. Okay.
I
Fair
got a
enough.
nice.
Andrew Harms, hitman for hire. That's
I'll shoot him down. I need to think of a better catchphrase, but
That's great. When I put that clip up there, I'm gonna put a picture of like who's the guy who killed Kennedy. I'm gonna put that
Lee
behind
Harvey
you. Lee
Oswald.
Harvey Oswald
Oh,
behind you. Just like it gets behind you. Yeah. I'm gonna have the camera zoom in on you. I love that. Hell yeah.
I don't know. I guess just the point I'm trying to make is that murder seems like it's wrong, but it's very much wrong in the system of law. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like if I kill you, that's really wrong, but it's also wrong because it's against the law. You know? But
Yeah.
it's like if a gov a government can have someone killed because they're the ones with the guns, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting because it's wrong, but it's allowed if you're the people who are allowed to do it. Because if you're the government, you can do kinds of moral. It's not illegal because you're the one in charge,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because like and then it becomes then it becomes so it's interesting because we've sort of allowed these people. It's like this weird thing where we let that, you know. But I guess that has to happen, you know, like death and taxes, right?
No, I don't think it does, man. I do think that, like, I do think just fair trade could happen if there was enough proper order put into place, and I do think that order definitely doesn't have to come from violence. That order can come from just people wanting order to be there. Enough order, enough order.
But then
I
you think
think.
of think about all the criminals and rebels out there. You know, there's a lot of.
I think. I
I
think.
mean, I just think maybe people are just in. That's the thing. It's like people are just inherently.
I think the arts are underutilized. I think a lot of people who are rebels, they
Need to
would
pick up a paintbrush.
they would go into the arts. Honestly, I really do. I think that a lot of people who are rebels would go into the arts. I know, man.
Martial arts.
I channel my anger into my stand up, and it's helpful. It's very helpful. That's what I do. You know, with my anger, I channel into my stand up, and so I kind of think like, oh, there are angry people out there who do bad things. They don't have to do that. They can just go into the arts and channel it into the
I
arts.
think. But I do think people are. But I guess the drawing back to the devil, and do I believe it's? I don't know if I believe in the devil.
You don't know if you believe in the devil.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I
Okay.
kind of I feel more God is real, but
Yeah.
the fact that there's this little
You think we're shifting the blame away from ourselves and our own inherent selfishness?
I think that's kind of how it is because
Okay. You think we're inherently selfish, and
think about all the things
is
that
because
we
that
consider evil
that
now.
that's kind of would be an explanation, right? If we have to create this character to explain away evil, it kind of means there's this inherent selfishness within us
Well,
that we're unwilling to confront.
think about all the things that have been considered evil for a long time, but we just lived with, like slavery. That's evil, right?
Yeah.
But there was a period, most of history, where that was part of everything, and I don't think was that because God was trying to fight against the slavery, and little devil was coming in and going, no, own slaves, but it's I don't know if it's exactly like that, but you know what I mean. I think
Okay.
people often do like what I feel that what motivates me to be a good person, like don't do that, that's wrong, that's not cool. I think sometimes that same kind of thing can get people to do evil things. Like I think people might think that that they're doing stuff that's good,
Okay.
but it's actually very wrong. I don't think it's
Okay.
always this thing of like God, but the devil says this, or go
Yeah.
like maybe
I
it's
mean, really?
maybe it's not
Do you
that.
think like murder? Like people think they're doing something cool, but they do
Maybe they just don't.
murder?
Or maybe they don't care or something like that.
Okay.
Or maybe they're just yeah. Maybe they think there's a logic. They could think like yeah. Well, he did this wrong thing to me, so I'm making it okay. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I'm making it okay by eliminating him. You know.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of you know maybe it's just that the whole
So you're
stereo.
saying
Maybe
that
that
not
whole
necessarily they're thinking it's cool, but there's this
yeah.
justification
There's
of
a
like
moral
the rules
justification.
don't apply here. This
Or
isn't
like this
murder.
is like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe that does come from the devil, but I think it's a lot. There's a lot of you know, I don't think it's always this thing of good versus evil. Just considering how much of evil we let exist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of evil we
Because otherwise,
allow
good would just win all the time. You know what I mean?
I think we allow to exist a lot of evil because there's a lot of scams that we kind of idolize, like Wolf of Wall Street type stuff. And
I've never
so,
saw that movie.
well, there's all these like super rich people, and we make movies about the super rich. We don't make movies about people that might be affected by how they acquire their money. And I don't even know if the Wolf of Wall Street person affected poor people. You know what I mean? I don't know if he owned sweatshops or
Mm-hmm.
something or invested in sweatshops where like
Mm-hmm.
people were exploited. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But like, let's say he did. Let's say he
Mm-hmm.
goes, oh, hey, I'm going to pump up this brand of clothing
Mm-hmm.
because it has a higher profit margin because we use these sweatshops over here
Mm-hmm.
and they pay the people dog shit. And they
Mm-hmm.
knowingly are like, yo, man, I just want more money. And I think at that point, yeah, I think in my mind, I think those people, like to get back to what I was saying, I think they've replaced their morality with this. They don't think in terms of good and evil. They think in terms of winner or loser. I don't
Yeah.
want to be a loser. Losers are poor. I don't want to be a loser.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they think in terms of. And so they've replaced their morality in my mind.
Yeah. But then it becomes an even it can become when you're talking about like big rich people uh you know do hurting people or something like that.
Or it's like knowingly owning a place that underpays people, and
Mhm.
just knowing like, hey, we could afford to pay people more, but then that would cut into the profits
Mhm.
and the report wouldn't be as good.
Mhm.
And so I don't want to do that because I want the stock to go up.
Mhm. Yeah, but you
And
could
I'm
also make the
investing in this company.
justification that like, hey, by us staying in business, by this system being in place,
Other people. No,
yeah,
you're right.
we
Yeah.
benefit because people are ultimately driven by selfishness, and I don't even think that's always it's really a bad thing. You know what I
Uh,
mean? But if you could say like, okay, I don't want to win, I just want to do what's right.
yeah.
I don't know
I
if it
think
always.
most people's threshold for winning is low enough that they're good people. That's what I mean. I think most people's threshold for winning is like, hey man, I just want to have a stable life. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
think that's most people, right?
Mhm.
And so most people don't cause trouble in that way because most people just want to have a stable life.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I think if those people got together and said, hey, we need to create a better world. I just need enough.
Mhm.
I don't need to be filthy rich. I just need to live well,
Mhm.
and not even a bad thing. I mean, I think people should be able to go out to restaurants, on the regular. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. I think we can afford that as a society, where people can have a few lunches out a week and a couple dinners out a week. I don't think that's like a too unreasonable ask. But I do think it's some people I think just I don't know what game they're playing, man, but I think they do neglect people and people's well-beings.
Yeah, well, I think that we live in a nice country where we can we can live well while also being decent people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have that privilege, but
That's true.
other places, their survival game is so high that in order to survive, sometimes that requires backstabbing and treachery and lying.
Jesus,
and
you're right.
thievery.
Yeah.
So
I don't
are
even think
those
about
people
that shit.
evil for trying to keep themselves alive? Because then it's just about what are the rules. Like if you
you're 100% right.
establish like, all right, these
stuff,
are the rules, everyone better play by them, then it's easier to play by them if you can actually if they can help you survive. But if you're in like a crazy shit wasteland where it's all about where it's just a matter of everyone's just pure selfish trying to survival, you don't really get anything out of just being. You might not get that much out
of altruism.
Yeah, of being a decent person, because they'll be like, I can hurt this, I can take advantage of that,
Jesus.
It's
I hope to never have to live in such a dog-eat-dog world.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
So that's another question. Is like, are those people evil for trying to, or is that just a bad?
I think, yeah.
Are they just victims of their environment?
Well, I think you're right. I think they're not evil. No, I don't think they're evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. I think probably I don't know their systems. I don't know how that handicap is created. You know what I mean? Where they can't have a society based on service, where they have to have a society based on thievery. I don't know if that is a real thing. I don't know how that exists. I don't know how that's incentivized.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If there are such societies that are so poor that they have to base their society on cons as opposed to service.
I think there's levels to it. You know what I mean? Where it's,
of course,
there's more of like an accepted, like when it's that dog eat dog, it's more accepted that you. I don't know. It's hard.
I don't know. All right. Well, moving on. Let's do. Okay, so next one on what happens after you die?
I kind of think nothing happens.
Think nothing happens, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that might be sad because you don't get to keep going, but
okay.
I'm kind of leaning towards that.
You lean towards nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Might be.
Because you're like, before you're born, there's nothing.
Yeah.
And then you stop existing, and then there's nothing.
So you think you go back to nothing?
Yeah.
Because you remember nothing.
Yeah, I think I like that better, because otherwise it's like this. Imagine going into afterlife and all your friends are in hell, but some people are like in heaven. Like it just seems ridiculous. Some people get to experience joyous eternity for eternity, and some people are just like, it's just hell pits. It seems kind of ridiculous to me. It doesn't seem right, because a life is just a flash, and human beings are just, right, as we said, inherently imperfect. I don't think anybody deserves eternal anything.
Fair enough. I guess eternal anything would be a bit madness.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
I feel like we should be looking at the stars right now.
I should get a star map for the ceiling. That'd be
every
fun.
Star is a sun.
Honestly, I should get a star map for the ceiling for this podcast, just for this podcast. Yeah, you're right about that. I should totally get a star map for the ceiling just for this podcast. Okay. Have you ever experienced the miraculous or the supernatural?
No.
No. Okay.
I've had good luck, you know,
Okay.
like wow, that happened. But I've never had something that was I mean, a miracle is very subjective. I've never had like a I'm walking on water, you know what I
Okay.
mean? Or
Yeah.
like my blind, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sure things happen that are unexplained, but I've never had anything that was just like there's no way, you know.
No aliens, no Bigfoot, nothing just
Nothing
beyond.
like that.
Not even supernatural.
Yeah, I've never
Okay.
like seen a ghost or anything like
Nothing
that.
like that. Yeah, fair enough. Cool. All right. See,
Yeah.
you did it.
There's no such thing as the supernatural.
All right.
Lightning strikes.
Uh,
The room starts shaking.
that's funny. Do you believe in love?
Yeah, I believe in love.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cause yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Cause
What is that?
that's
What do you
what
think love is?
that's what it's what parents have for their children. You know, it's
Okay.
what you have for something you really love doing. You know, it's what you have. It's yeah, I love families and things like that. You
Okay.
know, I believe it's a real thing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, I've never experienced it. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought you brought up something you really love doing because I have things that I really love doing. So I'm definitely going
Mm-hmm.
to contemplate that.
Yeah.
Contemplate the nature of how I feel about such.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Is there anyone that you hate?
Not at the moment. Nothing really comes to mind.
Fair enough.
You know, there are people I'm not crazy about, but
Well,
I feel like my life is not at a point where it's so involved that I have enemies. You know what I mean?
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Uh-huh.
All right. I like that. A man without any
How could you be an
without any
enemy to
person that you
Andrew
hate.
Harms? You
Yeah.
know, even with all the evil and the devil in the world.
Yeah, there's no one that you personally hate.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And finally the last question. What would be enough for you?
What would be enough? When it starts to really stink.
What?
When it starts to go downhill, you know what I mean?
What do you mean by that?
I don't know anything. When it's just when it gets unhealthy, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Or when it gets to the point where it's not good for you anymore.
So with that, okay. So you're just saying when I asked that question was enough for you, you're just saying in general that's fair. That's a fair answer. It's a fair answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very open-ended question. So you're saying on a general moment-to-moment basis, when it's just not good for you. Okay, I like that answer.
Like
I like that answer. You didn't use a cosmic wish answer
like what do you hope?
like well no, I mean you could have said like Sam Altman said falling in love and feeling like safe in that relationship. And stuff like that.
I thought you meant like stopping something.
I know, but that's fine. No, that's totally fine. They thought I meant that. It's totally fine. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's kind of an interesting thing because I don't know how I mean the question. I just mean the question. Of
Yeah, like
it's
when you know we know when it's enough. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
And it's time to move on. You know.
I love this answer. That's a very beautiful. This is why I asked this question to multiple people so that we've got to get those various answers. All right, cool. This has been the Waiting for Death podcast with Joe Camerota. All right. Bye. Cool.